Every second of our lives, blood is traveling through our bodies, delivering oxygen and nutrients, fighting infections, and keeping our bodies alive. But have you ever wondered what blood is actually made up of? Blood is not just a red liquid flowing through our veins. It is a complex tissue made up of different components, each with a special role. These components work together to transport substances, protect our bodies, and maintain balance. In this video, we are going to explore the main components of blood. That includes plasma, red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. We will discover their structures, functions, and why each of them is essential for our survival. So let's dive into this amazing world of blood and uncover how this life-sustaining liquid keeps our bodies functioning. So the cellular components of blood include red blood cells, white blood cells, and proteins, and these are suspended in a fluid called plasma, which is literally the liquid part of blood. And these cellular components can actually be separated from the plasma by a process called centrifugation. So what happens here is that if this is our blood sample, it is put in a machine called a centrifuge. Now, if you have gone for testing in hospitals or you are familiar with the laboratories inside hospitals, I'm sure you have seen one. So once in the centrifuge, the lid of the centrifuge is closed and the machine is turned on and allowed to spin up to a certain point. After this, our blood sample is removed and you realize that the components will have separated according to their density. So the heavy red blood cells occupy the bottom and the less dense plasma is at the top, and everything in between is the white blood cells and platelets. So this separation allows scientists and doctors, actually doctors are scientists, so it allows scientists to study the different parts of our blood. And I'll start with the least dense part, which is the plasma. Okay, so plasma is made up of 90% water, and the other 10% includes chemicals such as nutrients, waste products, hormones, respiratory gases, and plasma proteins. So you realize that plasma is the main transport medium in our bodies, and it transports these chemicals from organs where they are produced to organs that use or get rid of them. I also mentioned that the plasma includes plasma proteins, and these include albumins, we have prothrombin and fibrinogen, then we have globulins. So albumin is the most abundant protein found in our plasma, and it is produced by the liver, and this helps to maintain blood volume by holding water in the bloodstream. It is also a transport protein that helps to transport substances such as fatty acids, hormones. So basically, albumin is a water balancing and transport protein in our blood. Then we have prothrombin and fibrinogen, and these are involved in blood clotting, which I'll explain in detail in another video. Then lastly, we have the globulins, and these are mostly involved in immunity, since most of them are antibodies. However, some globulins also help to transport substances such as fatty acids and hormones, and that's what I had on plasma. Next is our middle layer, and that comprises of white blood cells and platelets. And I'll start with the white blood cells, which are also called leukocytes. Now, leukocyte there literally means a white cell. So these white blood cells are cells of the immune system and are found in blood and the lymphatic system, and their main role is to protect the body from infections and foreign particles. Now, unlike red blood cells, white blood cells have a nucleus, and they can also change in shape, and this allows them to squeeze through blood vessels to reach tissues or sites of infections. So white blood cells are divided in two main categories, and these are granulocytes and agranulocytes. And I'll start with the granulocytes. Now, they are called granulocytes because when observed under light microscope, many tiny granules are observed inside their cytoplasm. So these granules are basically tiny storage sacs containing chemicals that help these cells to carry out their functions more efficiently. For example, some of these granules form what are known as lysosomes, and these contain hydrolytic enzymes which destroy bacteria and other foreign particles, and this enables the white blood cells to carry out their function in a process called phagocytosis. So examples of granulocytes include eosinophils, basophils, and neutrophils. So eosinophils fight parasitic infections, especially large parasites such as worms. I'm sure some of you must have these parasites inside you, but these eosinophils help to fight such parasites. But as usual, do yourself a favor and get dewormed. Then, eosinophils also control allergic reactions such as asthma. So their main roles are to fight parasites and to control allergic reactions. Next, the basophils contain chemicals such as histamine, and histamine basically triggers inflammation. Now, I hope everyone here knows what an inflammation is. I'm sure every normal person has had at least one. Like, well, for example, when you hit your head or you twist your ankle, there's a swelling in that area. That's what an inflammation is. So histamine is what triggers that inflammation. Now, these basophils also contain a chemical called heparin, and this prevents excessive and unnecessary clotting, especially inside our blood vessels. Now, clotting inside our blood vessels would actually be very disastrous because it can lead to heart attacks and all that. So it can be very disastrous for us. Then, lastly, under the granulocytes are the neutrophils, and these recognize, engulf, and destroy bacteria and other foreign particles in a process called phagocytosis. Okay, now the other category of white blood cells are the granulocytes, and these don't have granules in their cytoplasm. They might have them, but they are not very visible. They're not seen. So these granulocytes include monocytes and lymphocytes. So monocytes, these are basically macrophages, and these recognize, engulf, and destroy bacteria and other foreign particles, just like the neutrophils. Then we have the lymphocytes, and these are produced in bone marrow and mature in the thymus gland, and they include B cells and T cells. And lymphocytes basically fight infections by producing antibodies and destroying infected cells. So that's what you need to know on granulocytes. Okay, now still in the middle layer are platelets. Remember I said the middle layer consists of white blood cells and platelets. So our platelets here are irregularly shaped, as you can see. They lack a nucleus, and they're also called thrombocytes, and thrombocyte there literally means clotting cell. Now their main role is to help in the process of blood clotting, which helps to stop bleeding when a blood cell is damaged. And they do this with assistance from proteins such as prothrombin and fibrinogen. Then lastly, I'll talk about the most dense part of the blood, and that includes the red blood cells, also known as erythrocytes, which literally means red cell. Now these are red because they contain a protein called hemoglobin. So hemoglobin is responsible for the red color in the red blood cells. And hemoglobin's main function is to carry oxygen from the lungs to the body tissues by combining with oxygen to form oxyhemoglobin, and this enables it to carry oxygen around the body. Now hemoglobin also contains an enzyme called carbonic anhydrase, and this enables it to carry carbon dioxide back to the lungs and eventually out of the body. So from this you realize that red blood cells are specialized for transporting oxygen around the body, but they also play a role in carbon dioxide removal. With all that said, now you understand that blood is much more than just a red fluid flowing through our veins. I've talked about plasma, which transports important substances, red blood cells, which deliver oxygen to body tissues, white blood cells, which protect us from infections, and platelets, which stop bleeding by forming blood clots. Now together these components work as a team to keep us alive and functioning properly. The next time you see blood, remember that it's a complex life-supporting tissue, which is made up of many tiny components working every second. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video.